and very Happy New Year to all of you. So, for entrepreneurs, every day is a new beginning, isn't it? And I don't know how many of you are entrepreneurs here. Nobody's all of you are entrepreneurs, right? Oh, so there was a very slight pause, which make me wonder, right? I mean, so are they really a different set of group? So I'm in the sense that I've been in the teaching at IIT Madras for a while now, and the last 3 years, last about 2.5 years, I have kind of ventured into this setup, and I find every day is it's kind of new day in the sense that you get up and you are very fresh, and by the end of the day, I think you are really kind of wondering what is actually into the business, right? And then again, when the next day happens, you feel fresh, and then you get on. And for some reason, I think most of the sessions are organized in the afternoon. Right? So I was asking with some others as to why this actually happens in the afternoon. Nothing to do with IC per se, but then the response was organizers wants to say on the lunch expense, right? Otherwise, when you've been in the morning, you'll have to give lunch. Right? But afternoon, you can go as long as you can, but still, dinner is very far away, so you don't have to really provide food. Right? So, nevertheless, I put together the following points that we will cover in this, but I am willing to kind of navigate, change course in between, depending on what you think we could discuss. And I'm also looking this as an opportunity to get some thoughts from each one of you, because we extensively work in the area of startups, not only from an academic perspective, but also more from practitioner perspective as well. Right? And I also wanted to kind of pause maybe after every 2 slides to kind of ensure that you have some thoughts and we could kind of discuss some of this. So let me again go back. First is the contours of startup funding. I mean, I kind of give an overview of what we really look at as far as the startup scenario is concerned in India. But that's not of much, it can just maybe facts and figures. But more importantly, we will take time to analyze what does that mean to us? What does this number mean to us? What does the trend mean to us? As entrepreneurs, how do we really kind of, get benefit from these insights? Second is the overview of the startup ecosystem. Here again, I have talked about broadly startup ecosystem, but I'll focus more on what are the different types of funding sources that is available, because I think that is something that we have been working on for the last few months extensively, and I also wanted to kind of share that with you. And the next is understanding the investment process, how it actually works. Many of you might be familiar, but some of you might not be familiar, but then it's good to revisit. And finally, how do we really increase the probability of getting funded? Right? So those are the 4 things that I would like to have this session. So contours of startup funding. So we took a sample of, not really sample of startups, the population of startups that we see in this country, and then divided them into 2 buckets. One is those that have been funded, and then those that have provided an exit to the investors. So remember, the issue of exit is very critical for the investors, because that's when the investors make money. Right? If there are no exits, then there are no returns, and if there are no returns, there will be no investors. Right? So exit is very important. And so what we have is, let's say we have a number. I'll just go through this whole thing. Right? So we have number something like this. So the outer circle here, there are 3 concentric circles. The outer circle, reflects something. The inner circle reflects something, and then the last circle reflects something. Right? So I want you to kind of look at which one of those reflects the companies that have been founded, and which of the circle reflects the companies that has been funded, and which of the circle reflects the company that has been provided an exit. Right? So I have 3 concentric circles, right? And within these circles I have also divided. Right? The darker shade reflects companies in large cities, 6 metro cities practically. The lighter one reflects large cities, and then the darker reflects the other cities, rest of India. Right? Large cities, essentially the 6 metropolitan cities, right? Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Delhi. Right? So can you, without looking at this, can you kind of take a guess which sector, which circle reflects what? Which one of the circle will reflect companies that are formed? The big one? The big one? Right? So, yeah, essentially the outermost circle reflects the companies that have been formed. Also look at the percentage, right? If you really look at the numbers, which are not very clear here, right? So 68% of the companies are formed in cities that are smaller, right? Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. Right? Only 32% of the companies are in large cities. Right? So essentially that kind of reflects the geographical spread, right? More or less. Now, if you come back to the inner circle, so the middle circle reflects the companies that has been funded. Right? So when you look at the companies that has been funded, just look at how the proportion changes. Right? So majority of the companies that has been funded belongs to the large cities. Right? 89% of the companies that have been funded belong to the large cities. So when I say funding, here I predominantly mean private equity funding, angel funding, venture funding, and so on. Right? They might have got bank funding, for which we don't have information. By and large, external equity funding has happened in companies that are there in larger cities. And now if you again look at the companies where we have seen an exit, that proportion by and large mirrors to the companies that have been funded. So these two circles by and large have the same proportion, in the sense that they tend to favor companies that have been set up in larger cities. Right? So now obviously this has a bigger import for each one of us as entrepreneurs are concerned. Right? So for example, Warren Buffett, right, refers to his birth as what is called as the ovarian luck. Right? The very fact that he was born at a particular time makes him more probable to become rich. Right? So similarly, the very fact that startup companies are set up in larger cities dramatically increases the probability of getting funded from venture investors. Right? So even though we may have several platforms today which kinds of looks at supporting companies in interior cities. Let's say, for example, today we have a platform called Native Leads. Right? What does Native Leads do? Native Leads looks at tapping the inherent passion that people have for their native villages. Right? So they look at successful entrepreneurs that have come from interior town. Let's say, for example, Salem, Dharmaburi, Tirunelveli, and all of these people, and then tell them that, why don't you go back and support entrepreneurship in these kinds of interior locations? Right? Noble objective, but on practice, it has not really got up on the ground in a terrific way. Right? So that is why today most of the entrepreneurs, they want to come back to large cities when they want to start up, simply because the ecosystem is much better. Right? The probability of getting funded is much better. So now this does not really make much relevance, because most of us here, because we are already in Chennai, which is one of the large cities. So I go to the next thing. Right? Look at these particular numbers. Right? Look at these particular numbers. The founded and ventures that has been funded. Right? Within these large cities, again, there is substantial variation. Right? I mean, we are very sad to know that Chennai obviously has the lowest ratio. Right? In the sense that among the ventures founded and ventures funded, Chennai actually has the lowest ratio as compared to Bangalore. Bangalore has the highest. So 1/5 of the startups seems to be getting some amount of external funding in Bangalore, whereas in Chennai it's just 1%. That's such a dramatic difference between these two kind of cities. So no wonder why many of us feel that if we have to really do something in the world of startup, particularly in the world of technology startups, we may want to go to Bangalore. If you look at founded and exited, there's not much of a difference, right? There is not much of a difference between many cities. Bangalore, in fact, has the lowest. It probably indicates the fact that there is so much actually happening in Bangalore the proportion of failures are very high. And the moment you are saying that you are exiting, that means the startups are reasonably successful, and in Bangalore that proportion is less, indicates that the failures are also very high in Bangalore. So the takeaway is, out of let's say about 1.26 million companies that formed our sample, the companies that potentially have VC funding is only 275,000. So how do we determine which has the potential, right? So we look at some specific sectors, right, and exclude. So there could be some sectors today, for example, let's say petroleum refinery, right? Petroleum refinery or cotton production. Right? So these are all important sectors, maybe for the economy, but they don't really have the potential for venture capital funding for a variety of reasons. Right? We can say, like for example, brick manufacturing. It's very unlikely a brick manufacturing company could get venture funding. It could be an extremely good company, but it's unlikely to get venture funding. Right? So after having removed all these companies that do not have the potential, we found 275,000 companies has some potential for getting funded from external sources. Right? Out of these 275,000, only 6,000 and odd companies get some amount of, are successful in getting funding. Right? And out of these 6,000, about 1,500 are able to give an exit. Right? So this kinds of captures what we see in the Indian startup landscape today. Right?
It's like not necessarily a startup, like all companies
Yes, so this reflects all companies that have been found, but I kind of look at more this particular aspect, right? 6,214. I mean, by and large, I kind of think entrepreneurship, right? Entrepreneurship is very different from doing business, right? So when we say starting up, it traditionally means entrepreneurship, right? And entrepreneurship, it means company has potential for growth, profit margins are expected to be high, reasonably has technology driven businesses and so on.
founded and venture funded being Chennai 1.2%.
Huh.
Does that mean that Chennai is kind of a conservative place, or what's the inference from that particular person?
So inference from this particular person. So this is founded and venture funded, right? So essentially, what is Chennai known for? So Chennai is known for traditionally the SME segment, right? So most of the companies that get formed in Chennai are from the SME sector, which prospects of getting venture funded are very, very low. Right? For example, manufacturing of chairs, right? Those are all SME funded, and it can get traditional funding sources from banks and so on and so forth. So therefore, the proportion is lower. Right? So Chennai, for example, when you say Chennai, it's Tamil Nadu per se, and Tamil Nadu has probably the second largest SMEs in the country. Right? But that's not the case with Karnataka. Karnataka is more technology driven kind of startups. So therefore, you see this proportion to be a little high. So that I am saying for Solace. No, I want to let me complete it. Right? But Chennai, as you also mentioned, is also conservative. Right? Chennai is conservative. Getting money from Chennai angel investors, for example, is little difficult as compared to probably the investors that you have in other cities. And that's something that we have to. What drives Bangalore, for example? Bangalore is essentially driven by technology entrepreneurs, and they have become very rich, and now they want to come back and invest in entrepreneurship in that particular region. But in Chennai, it is very difficult to find the super rich technology entrepreneurs. Right? There are rich people, but then super rich technology entrepreneurs, they are not as high as what we see in Bangalore.
Does that mean that the funding agency or the investors should be there in the same city as where the company is located?
You have raised an important point. Most of the time, one of the biggest criteria that the angel investors use. I'm talking about early stage startups. I'm not really looking at Ola, Oyo, that kind of thing. That's become much bigger. Right? So I'm looking at early stage startups. For an early stage startup, an angel investor looks at geographical proximity as an important criterion. Right? Because as an individual, he finds it very difficult to go from and monitor from a different state. Right? So if you look at 3 or 4 important criteria, geographical proximity is a very important criterion which accounts for more than 50% of the weightage that these investors give to startups. So if there is a local thriving investor community, more investment will happen in the local companies. Right? Yeah.
You mentioned that a lot of the funding is related to like sector specific, the VC. Are there any, like from what you're saying, potential for VC funding, the ventures which you're funded, like which sector do they?
Well, I'll come to that. Should come to that. Yeah.
Use the mic because the TV will not capture it.
So, but basic question: how do you collect the data?
How do I collect the data? See, obviously the data is very difficult to get, right? And then you have some databases that are available, but none of them are complete, right? So what we have to do is, what we did as a research group is we really have to look at combining multiple data sources and filling the gaps to a certain extent based on our own understanding and our own, proprietary data sources, right? Otherwise, data is very, very difficult to get. If, for example, if you want stock market information, we go to NSE, we can download all the information that is possible, right? Or if you want to look at foreign exchange information, we go to RBI and download everything. But these are all private capital markets. This information is not easily available.
What about MCA website where you can see how much?
So MCA website, actually I'm not very sure how many of you use the MCA website, right? So information is available, right? Information is available, but that's about it, right? If you have to download information for one company, it may take half an hour. Right? So the circle will keep on circling, right? And then you have to pay, right? So the moment you pay, suddenly the link will go off, right? Then you have to again start all over again. So government website, what do you expect? So, okay, so now let me move on to the additional ones, right? I've captured the trends in the venture capital industry. When I say venture capital industry, I'm looking at the startup. Right? The first thing that we have to really understood is its seasonal flavors. Right? It's not uniformly same. Right? So we look at 3-year windows. Right? Starting from 1998, we looked at several 3-year windows. But what we find is we look at the top 3 sectors that attract venture capital investment across the across the time periods, across different 3-year windows, and what we find is only the IT and ITES has been consistently in the top 3, right, across all these years, right? Only IT and ITES will be in the top 3 across all these years. Right? Suddenly you find, let's say for example, IMNE, that is Internet Marketplace and E-commerce, was in the top 3 in 98, 2000, and again in the top 3 in 2013 and 15, right? In between it is not even there. So in case, let's say for example, you thought about an interesting idea in internet and e-commerce in 2007 to 9 period, you would have found it very difficult because that is not the flavor of the season. Right? So remember, all of this actually happens depending on what is the seasonal, appetite for the investors. If you are probably at a time which investors do not have appetite, then it's howsoever great it might be, you find it very, very difficult to get venture funding. So for example, I think 5-6 years ago, the oil mills, we used to have traditional oil mills, right? Down south, that oil mill, this oil mill and all. Suddenly private equity investors woke up to the fact that they are very attractive for funding. Right? They all went in, most of the oil mills got funded. Right? Never before, never again. But for that 2 or 3 year period, so much of private equity investment was pumped in these kinds of companies. Right? Similarly, if you look at in 2013 and 15, healthcare and life sciences came into the top 3. Right? Never before was healthcare and life sciences in the top 3. So suddenly it happens. So the important thing to understand is, are we there, right, when the market is heating up? In world of finance, it's essentially very important. The timing component is very important, right? Are you there? Are you there at the right time when the market is heating up? The advantage is when the market is heating up, it's easy to get funding. Funding can happen at an attractive valuation, right? And more investors will be willing to look at you, right? So there are, let's say for example, if you look at manufacturing is there till about 2009 in the top 3, then after that manufacturing is not there. Right? So the bottom line here is we have to perceive that markets have its own idiosyncrasies that is completely not in line with the merit of a particular venture and so on, right? It may be an extremely good. So today, I think it's practically impossible for a BPO company to get funded. I mean, you have let's say transcription or a BPO call center. It is simply not possible, right? Because investors are tired of looking at these kinds of companies. If you look at a software services company, people are tired. It doesn't mean that they are not required, right? They are required. Profitable models exist, but still investors are not interested. Sorry?
16 to 19. This is up to 15 actually.
So the idea is not to look at data per se, I just wanted to look at the trends. Right? The trend is to kind of show that the importance that investors give to different sectors, they keep changing with time. Right? So in 16 to 19, there could have been a trend which may not have been consistent with the earlier trends. So that is what I wanted to highlight.
Percentage is falling over the years. So does it imply that in maybe 16, 19 it would have fallen more, and maybe in 19 to 22, 20 to 22 it will go even more down?
I mean, yeah, possible, but we have not really looked at the 16, 19 data for this purpose, because the study was conducted in 2013-15, but then we thought it's an interesting finding. It is possible that it could continue the trend of, it could continue the downward trend. We don't know. We have not done the analysis to be able to comment. But as long as it's in the top three, I think it will be suffice for the entrepreneur, right? It is one of the important sectors that people are looking at to make an investment. Okay, can I move on? So I will kind of give you some trends. I mean, objective is to give you some trends, not really look at these numbers. Right? So look at this, startup growth, right? Startup deals, right? Number of companies that gets invested during any particular thing. So what is the first thing that we can notice in this? So it has been a continuous growth. If you look at a moving window, right? If you look at a moving window, it has been a continuous growth. Right? But if you look at a quarter-on-quarter basis, there could be variation. And for example, if you look at any of the newspapers, Economic Times or Hindu Business Line, every quarter they come out with a finding saying that angel investments dropped, right, this quarter. The next quarter they will say it increased this quarter. Right? See, for an entrepreneur, this quarter by quarter, it doesn't really make much sense for us, right? We need to be able to understand what is the big picture, and the big picture is really a picture of continuous growth. Right? I don't know how much more perfect we can get a graph, isn't it? If you take a 3-year window, there has been a continuous growth. Right? So this is obviously a lot of indicates the potential that we have for startups. Right? And 2013-15, let's assume that there are 7,500 deals, right, on a round basis. 7,500 deals, you're talking about 2,500 in a year, right? So 2,500 in a year, approximately, means that we are talking about 200 deals a month, right? It's about 200 deals a month, right? So the 200 deals a month, if you assume 20 working days, it is 10 investments a day. It's so many investments that are happening, right? So there is a lot of potential. Out of this, some gets reported, some might not get reported, but nevertheless, we're talking about a large number of deals, and we assume that the data is about 50%, covers only about 50%. So that means 100% could be about 15,000 deals that get invested in a year. Right? So we asked the question, right? What about the investment in different sectors, right? What about the investment in different sectors? So here we have looked at some sectors. I'm not sure whether it is visible from the back. I'll kind of read out some of the important sectors. This is consumer products and services, This is edutech, this is fintech, this is health tech, this is logistics, this is internet marketplaces, media, software and internet services, technology and others, right? So we have different sectors, and in different sectors we have two different bands, right? Colors of two different bands. The green band indicates the funding happened in the first 3 years after the company is starting, and the red band indicates funding has happened after 3 to 6 years, between 3 and 6 years, right? So now, what is the inference that you can make from this graph? Right? What is the inference that you can make, or what probably you can also look at what is the takeaway? Right? What is the takeaway? Each and every line, right? Each and every line indicates the deal, right? Each and every line indicates a deal. So one line means one company has been invested, right? So if we have thicker bands like this, we have several companies that deals have been bunched together so that the band is thicker, right? Because you're talking about the total investment, right? This is the investment made in a single company, right? What could be the takeaway that we can see from a graph like this?
More companies are funded in the initial years.
Okay, so that's one. More companies are getting funded in the 0 to 3 years, and automatically the corollary to that is not all companies that get funded in the first phase get second round of funding, right? And that means there are failures, there are dropouts, that not all of them get funding in the subsequent years, right? Okay, what else? Any other thing, any other pattern that strikes you? Any other?
Funding amount is actually higher for the subsequent.
Yes. So average funding amount is higher for the period 3 to 6 years, which is how it should be, because the company has grown bigger. You need more amount of capital. Burn rate would be higher. So the average funding in the period 3 to 6 years is higher. Okay. Anything else?
Huge bias in few sectors.
Huge bias in a few sectors. Primarily, if you look at it, the band is so thick in the software and internet services sector, right? So this has been the staple of investment in Indian context, right? Much of the investment has actually happened in. So when I say software, it basically means internet, IT, all the other related areas, right? In the remaining sectors, I mean, obviously there is investment, but then it's not as prevalent as we see in the software and internet services. So what is the impact? So what? So the next question you might ask is, so what? So what is the import of this? So these software and internet services also consist of emerging technologies, right? IoT, ML, data analytics, artificial intelligence, right? What is the import? The first thing we can straight away see is that more number of investment happen in the software and internet services or these kinds of technology sectors, right? So the next question is, so what? Nobody?
That's where the opportunity is.
No, that's where the opportunity is. But then, for us as entrepreneur, how can we interpret this? Other sectors are getting ignored. Fine, but how does it benefit us? Huh?
Where's the market? Where are the customers?
Where is the market? Okay, let me kind of say my own piece here. So the thing is, the chances of getting funding increases if you position the startup as a technology startup. Correct? So you may be in any particular sector. Today technology is interwoven, right, across different. So for example, if you're looking at soap manufacturing, for example, the soap manufacturing will be consumer products and services. But then if you say soap manufacturing, the prospect of getting funding becomes, let's say for example, much lesser as compared to saying something like using technology for soap manufacturing or something like that, right? Then possibly the chances of getting funding increases. You may come back as the question saying that are investors that stupid, right? I mean, all the investors are from top management schools, and if you kind of camouflage and by giving a different name or positioning it differently, are they going to bite it? Right? So that's a question you may ask, but the fact is that's what seems to be the reality. Right? If you kind of position it as a technology play, right, irrespective of whichever sector you want it to be, then the probability of getting funding increases, because venture investments predominantly would like to be seen in companies that have a strong technology component. Right? When I say technology, it doesn't mean like hardcore technology like semiconductors and all of these things, but simple use of information technology or analytics or ML and things like that. So many times you may also find many times you may also find it happening in large companies as well. Right? Large companies, they change the names. Right? They change the name just to give a very favorable perception in the market. Right? So I remember a company which was in the business of exporting cut roses. Right? So the company said that let me kind of go ahead and raise money in the initial public offering in the IPO market. Right? So and then they changed the name to Karuturi Infotech. Right? Karuturi was a company that was in the business of exporting cut flowers, roses. And instead of saying as a company that export roses, they said there's a Karuturi Infotech. They use information technology in floral production or something like that. Right? So the perception that it created in the market was very different. Right? So many times as entrepreneurs, we may have to kind of understand what is the appetite for the investors on a different technology segment, and we want to kind of position it. I don't say that you have to completely change it. Then the positioning can be based on how the investors perceive the different areas. Right?
Sir, in SaaS-based products are considered as technology for most?
Yes, anything related to software is basically coming under this. Technology would mean hardcore technology. Say for example, what I would call this as.
No, if an application goes with an app-based thing, are they interested to consider those for funding?
Difficult to answer a broad question like that. But what I am really saying is a company that is non-tech essentially, if it can be given a spin, right, and making it position as a technology play, the possibility of getting funding increases. Right? So that's the way I would like to position. Now I can tell you a practical example. Right? Let me not name the person. So we were trying to kind of have some entrepreneur enter our platform, Winehouse technology platform, and then he enters. Right? We have to give a sector. Right? The entrepreneurs will have to give a sector, and then he kinds of enters and then scrolls down, looks at the different sectors, and then looks at intelligent transportation solutions. Right? So that's his category he chose, intelligent transportation solutions. Then he asked him, what does he do? Right? He actually runs a bus between Chennai and Bangalore. Right? The bus operator between Chennai and Bangalore. So they actually have a GPS, so that becomes a intelligent transportation system. So we have to, many of us will have to maybe creatively think how you can position the business. Sorry, there was one more question. Yeah.
It was the same. So, difference between technology and software?
The technology is technology, hardcore technology, for example, material science. Right? So those all will come under. This is nothing to do with information technology. This is like hardcore technology. For example, coming out with a white LED. Right? Those are all technology related opportunities. Any question? Can I move on? So these are estimated amount invested by angel investors. I will go to the next slide because we talk about this angel investors, and I'm focusing on angels because I think that's a segment is going to be the anchor for the first round fundraising. Right? It's very difficult to straight away go to large institutions. Most of the first round of fundraising will have to be anchored on angel investors. So that's why the focus on angel. How it has consistently grown, right? Over a period of time, it has consistently grown. So today, 2015, it is 1,000 angel investors, but today we are talking about 5,000 angel investors, right, in India. 5,000 people who would willingly call themselves as angel investors. There are several who didn't want to be called, who didn't want to be publicized that they are actually making angel investment. There are several like that. For a variety of reasons, people don't want to publicly associate with a particular startup till the startup is successful. After the startup is successful, they'll say, no, I am an investor, right? But till the time the startup does well, people are very cautious. Okay? So 5,000 is a fairly, from an Indian context, from what you were in 2008, that's a nice number. Right? What is going to happen if you really see what is happening in the US? This is likely to grow even further. Right? In the US, we are talking about 500,000 angel investors. Right? In India, we are talking 5,000. So that's a difference that we are talking about, a difference of 1,000, right? Order of 1,000. As we go along, obviously, as more and more people are comfortable in assuming the risks, we believe that the number of angel investors are going to grow. Let's say, for example, 15 years from now, many of you have become very successful entrepreneurs and you will all start becoming angel investors, isn't it? Am I reasonable in assuming so? So that is how it is going to be. So the crux is you will have to see who would be the right kind of angel investor for you. So that's what I've been always saying. Right? When you had, let's say, 50 investors, you probably will have to send out 50 emails, right, saying that, can you consider this investment? So when you have 5,000 investors, is it possible to send 5,000 emails? Right? Or if you want to meet, you can possibly meet 50 investors in maybe 1 year. Right? How long will it take for you to meet 5,000 investors? It's simply not possible. Right? So the challenge of finding the investor has dramatically increased. Though the number of investors have increased and it's a very, very favorable thing for the entrepreneurs, the challenge of finding the right investor has dramatically increased. So that is something that we have to be aware of. So this indicates the average investment in angel rounds. And again, if you really look at it, it has increased. It is increased from about 1 crore to 4 crore, an average investment. So today it's probably slightly reduced. In 2015 it was doing very well and then we're talking about 4 crores. Today we are talking about in the range of about 2.5 crores. Average angel investment is 2.5 crores. So what is the increase in angel investment, what does it mean? Right? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing, or the increase in angel investment? Right? Increase in average angel investment is increasing from 1 crore to about 2.5 crores today. Right? What can we interpret?
More cash flows for sustaining the operations are probably to have more cash flows, so you have time to really generate our own.
Okay, one is you can probably sustain, right? You can sustain the burn rate for a longer duration. That is one good thing. Right? Anything else? There is belief that the startups will succeed, right? But what is the actual, anything else that can most importantly affect? I mean, it's a very good thing, right? I mean, that people are willing to invest larger amounts. But what comes along with that? When people are investing more amounts, people will take longer time. Right? See, angel investments, what is supposed to happen? Angel investments, you are supposed to get it very fast, right? In a month or two. But when you need more amounts and people are willing to invest more amounts, then what happens? The process takes longer, right? If you had initially planned for 2 months and if you want larger investment, it is not going to happen in 2 months. It's going to take more time. Right? So the time that we budget for getting an angel investment has to be altered, right? We have to alter that it is going to take a longer time in getting angel investment, right? The second, angel investors invest their personal money, right? And therefore, they can't invest very large amounts, right? It's very difficult to find, except if you really look at some of the top investors like Catamaran Ventures of Narayan Murthy and so on. Most of the angel investors will not invest very large amounts, right? They will probably invest, maximum about 1 or 2 crores. Right? And today, the average angel investor invests about 20 lakhs. right? 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, that is the average angel investment that's happening. The total angel investment is increasing. So that means what? We need to have more number of investors coming together in a particular round. Right? Let's say for example we are talking about 2 crores, and then if we have each and every investor contributing 20 lakhs, then we are going to have 10 investors in the round. Right? So now you will have to remember the difficulties of managing 10 investors. Right? If 1 investor is headache, 10 investor is 10 headache. Each and everybody is going to ask you a question, right? Remember, they are all independent investors, right? They want to showcase the investor to their network. So one day investor A will call up, in 1 week later investor B will call up, investor C will call up, right? And they will want to speak only to the founder, no one else, right? Because it is, as an investor, they will speak only with the founder, right? And you will have to engage them, right? So remember difficulties of dealing with a very large investor body. You have to have extremely strong control, right? You have to set the rules of the game up front. This is how it is going to be. Please don't trouble us very often because we have to focus on running the business. So I met one of the entrepreneur, who had this kind of thing. Then he told me, no, I upfront told the investors, right? So he had 30 investors in the company. Right? He said, I upfront told the investors, please don't ask me for reports and all those things, right? I will send you every month, and if you have any modifications, please discuss it in the investors board meeting. So in addition to the board of directors meeting, he also had what is called as a board of investors meeting. And in the board of investors meeting, the investors can come and discuss about the affairs of the company. But apart from that particular day, he will not entertain investors on any other day. The rules were clear upfront. So it's very important as you start going about raising capital that the expectations between the entrepreneur and the investors are very clear to start with. So remember, you cannot initially be very flexible and suddenly become very strict. Investors do not like it. Right? It has to be right from the beginning. Okay, any questions so far? Anything else in this particular slide? So this looks at the average age of funding of early stage companies. I'll just take a